In my last video, I had been camping in New Hampshire's White Mountains to test out some improvements I'd made to my little trailer. A new heater, subfloor insulation, and a heating pad for my battery were all installed to make my camper a little more suitable for winter camping. Now I can share the results.
Oh, Ooh. Been away all day. It is cold in here. I didn't show lighting it last time, so this time I will. Oh, see my breath. Oh, I have to hold that with my bare hands for 15 seconds. Oops, forgot to shut the door. Whoops. There we go. I think that's 15 seconds. And it is. Oh, gotta get some warmth in here quickly. Fan on. Well, it's nice and toasty in here, or at least to me it's toasty in here. Some people might disagree, but the heater has been going for some time, and so I can give you more of an idea of how it's really performing. Now, when I started, it was 28 degrees Fahrenheit inside the camper. I'm going to give it in Fahrenheit because I'm in New Hampshire, and that's what they use, so kind of live with it here. It got up to about 50 degrees in about 35 minutes, which is almost like a minute a degree. But then it tapered off. After about an hour and a half, it got up to 60 degrees. And right now, I'm just going to grab the thermometer here. It is about 61, 62. I don't think it's going to make it to 70 degrees. Because it's getting colder out there as the heater is trying to heat up the whole camper. And the camper was cold all day. I stopped heating it about 8 o'clock this morning, went out most of the day, and came back here and then got it started again. So I know that's probably not really exceptional to some people. I know because a forced air furnace, like an RV furnace, would probably heat up to a room temperature of 70 degrees in like 20 or 30 minutes. This does take a little longer because it's only 4,500 BTU, but it does get up there, and for me right now it's comfortable. Now, speaking of comfortable, some people are not comfortable. I've heard the comments with me having a heater right by the bed, having the sleeping bag right underneath the heater, and having the curtains not be near the heater. So, okay, let me just sort of resolve one issue here, and that is actual temperatures, because I've got the digital thermometer, and you can see right here, I've got my cloth gloves on it. There's no smoke, okay? So that's your first hint, but they were wet. They needed to dry, the same as these ones here. Because this doesn't work on reflective metal, let me just take a reading on the gloves. So right next to the flue, as close as I can get, that is 115.3. I don't know if you can read that or not, but that's 115.3, and this one is 123.3. So it is warm up here. Actually, 120 degrees is pretty hot. I would say right by the flue, it probably is even 140 degrees. That is the same temperature as a hair dryer. Now, over here, watch this. It's just barely warm. Up here it starts to get a little warmer. Here it's a little warmer, and now it's getting hot. I don't want to touch that too much, but I can. So that's why I can put my gloves up there. They are not going to catch fire. Now, as far as the wood in the back here, temperature reading right there is 71.4. Not hot. That is like room temperature. Down here it's cooler, and down here it's actually cold. There is no heat whatsoever. In the front, it's a little warm here. There is one place where it is really hot, and that is right here, and that's why it's got a grill, so that you don't stick your little finger in there, because yes, you will get burned. So if the concern is it's going to catch something on fire, I would have to be forcing this in here to catch it on fire, and that's just not going to happen. I wouldn't be putting my gloves up here all the time. I mean, I'm watching them. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but I certainly got them warm really quickly. It's like, you know, using a hairdryer on them. These ones here, again, let's do another temperature test, is right on that one there, is 73.5 degrees. So again, it's not really that hot. Now, the actual flue, the chimney pipe, it is hot. You know, don't want to go too far off that, but at the top, actually, it is warm to touch, definitely, but where it exits to the roof, it's actually not very hot up there either. I'm just going to do temperature reading, 64.4. So, long story short, it is warm. This area is a danger area, but when you think of it, if you think of like a, you know, like one of those floor heaters, I mean, that's about as far up from the carpet you'd be if it was sitting on the floor, like a catalytic heater. So I don't think it's an issue. If you're concerned and you're thinking of doing an install, by all means, put it up a little bit if you want. But I am comfortable with it. Don't be alarmed. Nothing's gonna catch fire.
One question many viewers asked was why not use the excess heat from the flame to run a wood stove fan? The first reason was size. The heater is so small, there's no place for it to sit on. And the second reason is there's just not enough wasted heat to run the fan, as they need at least 150 degrees just to start rotating. Sorry, folks. And as far as using it to heat up a coffee, well, I have a stove for that.
Now, I understand there's probably still some people that are uncomfortable having a heater so close to the bed. And in a prior video, I did do a walk around the trailer to see if there's another possible location. And there's one place I didn't include in that video just simply because I ran out of time. But let me just show you that clip to show you one other alternative. Now, although it would certainly not be my first choice, I have to at least investigate the possibility of putting it in this closet. Could it fit in there? Well, first of all, the obvious would be I would lose all of this storage space just to put it in here, you know, maybe like that. And I'm just not prepared to do that. If somebody was starting out from scratch and they didn't have this here, it would probably be an ideal location. But I like this and it's gonna stay, so sorry, that's not where it's going. Now, I'd like to give one final note about safety, and it's something that's often overlooked. What happens if you're out camping with your RV, your trailer, your bus, or whatever it is, and you have to leave immediately? Like there's a medical emergency, there's an evacuation because there's a flood or a fire, tornado. Or what if the camping neighbor is kind of acting a little weird? You know what I mean? You got to get out quickly. In my particular situation, because I unhitch my tow vehicle, I can be out of here in 10 seconds. I open the door, I get in the Jeep, and I'm gone. I'm leaving the trailer behind, but if it's that much of an emergency situation, that's not an issue. Now, scenario 2, what if you actually have 10 minutes that would be great because I could hitch up my trailer, make sure everything's put back, and I'm out the door. Nothing would be preventing me, unless the type of heater I had. And that's what I want you to consider, because if, for example, I had my old wood stove in here and there was an emergency I had to leave, I couldn't turn it off if it was still on fire. I would have to wait for the coals to burn out. I guess if I had to, I could get my fire extinguisher and do it that way. It would be a little bit messy, or maybe some baking soda. It would still delay me. The nice thing about this particular heater, it has a flame, but if I need to turn it off, that's it. I'm done. Food for thought. Well, it's the final morning of this camping trip, and I think I can finally assess the improvements that I made. The first one, of course, was adding a new heater. I think it's performed really well. I went outside this morning, and it is right now 18.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's pretty cold. I kept the heater on low all night, and because I'm in the warm sleeping bag, so I only kept it to around 50 degrees. And in the morning, I just opened up the flame a little bit, and it is right now about 64 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very, very comfortable for me. It's quiet. It was easy to start. To shut it down, I just go to off. Very easy. I don't have to empty out ashes or anything like that. So convenience, really good. Location, I have no issues with it here. I have not burned or melted anything. I'm quite happy with it being there, and being by the bed, to me, is a logical location.
As far as the chimney cap goes, wrapping it with a bungee cord was a simple way to stop moisture from coming in during transportation. Regarding snowfall, once the heater is on, it melts the snow around the cap, so there's little danger of the air and exhaust being blocked. The only negative is the amount of ice that forms down the sides as the heater melts the snow.
So, as far as the Dickinson heater, I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10. You know, it is a little costly. It was about, in the equivalent of US dollars, I think I paid about $880 for it. So it's up there, but it was less than a good quality RV furnace. So, 7.5 out of 10. As far as the insulation underneath the floor, now, because the heater has been heating this all night, I should be able to give a good assessment. So, got the little temperature gun here, and it is saying 40.3 on the floor. Now, 40.3 inside, I mean, yes, that's not 60 degrees. Totally understand. It's like 20 degrees cooler on the floor, but it's still above freezing, and it's 18.9 underneath the floor right now. So that is pretty good. You know, I've watched the snow melt that was right by the door. And by the way, the door is one of the coldest places in this trailer right now. Guaranteed, I'm going to have to work on the insulation around there.
Now, as far as securing the foam sheets and the coroplast covers underneath, after 12 hours of highways, gravel, salt, and snow-covered back roads, the screws and glue have held everything tight in place, and it's all in excellent condition.
So I think it was worth it to put the insulation underneath. I would give it, I don't know, let's say a 6 out of 10. But the final thing I did was put a heating pad with the lithium battery. Now, before I left, it was the coldest morning. It was 5 degrees Fahrenheit. I had left it on all night, the heating pad, and when I got up in the morning and I checked it, and I couldn't get right underneath, but I could just sort of in between the battery and the box, it was 34 degrees Fahrenheit. So even though it was super, super cold outside, the battery was still above freezing, so I could charge with the battery all the time, and it didn't use up very little electricity.
I did, however, make one improvement since my last video. A viewer named Goatman suggested I put Mylar bubble wrap under the heating pad to reflect the heat back up. I also added a piece to the cover as well. It seemed to help. Thanks, Goatman.
Now, the only bust in this trip, besides the ladder that I broke, was that I wasn't able to generate solar power. And it's simply because it was always cloudy, but there was always snow coming in onto the solar panel, and I just could not keep
it off.
I still have right now 13.1 volts on the battery. So it's as if, after 3 days of all the things that I've been doing, I really haven't drained the battery much. And that is very important. If I had a heater that used a very powerful fan, if I had the refrigerator on, and I don't have the refrigerator on, by the way, I don't need it, and those are things that rob the camper of energy, of electricity. So I could go several more days before the battery died. That's good. I will know how much propane I used when I get back because I'll refill the tank. But right now I'm pretty sure I got lots of propane. I didn't use it most of the day because I'm out hiking. I think everything was a success. I'm really proud of it. And by the way, the heating, the warming pad, I'm going to give like 10 out of 10. I think it did exactly what I wanted it to do. So yeah, the improvements worked and I'm happy with them, and that's all that counts.
And after all, being warm and having adequate power makes for a wonderful winter camping experience.
Now, I actually did get a chance to weigh the propane, so I can give you the final results. I used the heater for 48 hours over 3 days. It was about 16 hours a day I used it. The rest of the time I turned it off because I wasn't using the camper. I was out hiking or driving around. Anyway, after 3 days I used 7 pounds of propane. And if you break that down, that means one pound of propane lasted 6.86 hours. So the heater was rated, it said, between 5 and 7 hours for 1 pound of propane. So 6.86 is really good. So especially the fact that I didn't always have it on low. Sometimes I had it on high. So I'm really happy with that.
And bear in mind, that amount of fuel also includes the propane for cooking, like this hash brown zucchini veggie dog fry, which is one of my favorites.
I only used 7 pounds. I had 17 pounds originally in the propane tank. So I believe the way I was doing it, I could have lasted a week of only using the heater 16 hours a day. So that's a really good feeling, especially if for some reason I get stuck and I can't move. I now know that I could probably last a week with that heater before needing to get a fill up. I really loved my stay in New Hampshire and I wanted to stay longer. However, there is a very bad storm coming and this isn't the place to be, so I'm going to move on. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my others as well.